Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And alhamdulillah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa salam. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. So welcome to week 13. This week we're going to go through the text real quick, read it, and I want to go through the slides and just give you an idea of what we want on the test. Then the next week, we'll do the test, or maybe the week after that, because this is going to be my wedding anniversary this weekend, March 29th. May 29th.
MashaAllah.
Oh,
Mashallah.
you better get that right now.
Yeah, I did. I got it right.
Listen, you gotta go all out. Kaboom, kaboom.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. You guys can take the test, and then we can come back the week after and review it. So I was thinking about either what I wanted to do. I'm gonna ask you guys. You want to do the test like do it online together, like in a PowerPoint slide, or in a I got a thing called the Easy Test Maker that I do it where you do multiple choice. Like you took a test with me before.
Yes.
I like the one we did last time for our Akita class. I don't
Okay.
think it was a PowerPoint. It was like a link that you gave us or something.
Yeah, you take the test, and then we followed it up with the review we did in the PowerPoint format.
Yeah, that was right.
All right, so we'll do that, inshallah. All right, so let's get started. Okay. Okay, so inshallah, let's just read through the text real quickly as possible. And then we're gonna go through the slides. We're gonna go through the slides and highlight what we need, what I would like to have, what I would like to do, inshallah. So anybody want to read?
I'll read.
Okay.
In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate. All praise is to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We seek help from Him in worldly affairs and in matters of deen. Salutations and peace on our Master Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seal of prophethood, and upon his family and companions. There is no power and might except through Allah, the Most High, the Most Great.
Okay, tired. Okay, keep going.
The integrals of Iman, faith, are six: to believe in Allah, to believe in His angels, to
No, wait a
believe in
minute.
His.
The integrals of Islam.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. My bad. The integrals of Islam are five: to bear witness that there is no God except Allah and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah; to establish Salah; to discharge Zakah; to fast in the month of Ramadan; to perform Hajj for those who are able.
Mm-hmm.
The integrals of Iman, faith, are six: to believe in Allah, to believe in His angels, to believe in His books, to
Mm-hmm.
believe in His messengers, to believe in the final day, to believe in destiny, good and evil, is from Allah the Exalted.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you want to say, wait, the section, the
Mm-hmm.
meaning of the kalima is, in reality, none is worthy of worship except Allah.
Okay, good.
Um, Al Hakam, Al
Al-Ahkam.
Al Ahkam, Al Sharia, The rulings of the sacred law.
Mhm.
In the Shafi'i Madhab school of thought, the actions of those who are obligated to observe the precepts of religion take one of the following five rulings. Excuse me. The wajib, obligatory action. One will be rewarded for performing them and will be liable for punishment upon abandoning them.
Mhm.
The the mandub, recommended action. One will be rewarded for performing them and will not be liable for punishment upon abandoning them. The mubah, permissible action. One will not be rewarded for performing them and will not be liable for punishment upon abandoning them. The makruh, offensive action. One will be rewarded for abandoning them and will not be liable for punishment upon performing them. The haram, forbidden action. One will be rewarded for abandoning them and will be liable for punishment upon performing them.
Okay, good. All right. Who wants to read the next section of taharah or purification? Don't
I
all
can
go.
read it.
Okay.
Bismillah. The signs of puberty are three: reaching the age of 15 lunar years for a male or female, experiencing a wet dream by a 9-year-old boy or girl, menstruation for a 9-year-old girl.
Mhm.
The conditions for using a stone to clean the private parts are eight. 3 stones should be used. It should purify. The impurity should not be completed by completely dry. The impurity should not have spread out. No other impurity should come up on it.
Mhm.
The impurity should not go beyond the inner buttock and the head of the penis. Water should not splash onto the stone. The stones to be used should be pure. The sooner way of using a stone: begin to wipe from front to back on the right side with the first stone. Similarly, wipe the left with the second and wipe both sides and the anus with the third. Each wiping must begin at a point on the skin that is free of impurity. 2, it is sooner recommended to add an odd number of stones, 5, 7, and so on. It is makruh to use the right hand to clean the impurity.
Mhm.
The obligatory acts of wudu, ritual ablution, are 6: intention, washing the face, washing both hands and arms, including the elbows, wiping any part of the head, washing the feet, including the ankles, tartib, to
Mhm.
observe the above mentioned sequence.
Good. Okay. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Intention is to intend something simultaneously with the action. Its place is in the heart. To make a verbal intention is a sunnah. Its time is at the beginning of washing the first portion of the face. Tartib, sequence, is to observe the sequence of the wudu such that no latter limb of wudu should precede a former limb. The sunnah way to perform wudu, ritual ablution: recite
Ta'awud.
ta'awud.
Mhm.
I take refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan, to recite A'udhu Billah completely, and Bismillah, in the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate, to recite Bismillah completely. Wash the hands up to and including the wrist 3 times. Use the miswak toothstick and then rinse the mouth and nose 3 times with 3 handfuls of water. One takes in a mouthful from a handful of water and sniffs up some of the rest of the handful into the nostrils thrice. Wash wash
Mhm.
the Wash the entire face from the point where the hairline usually begins to the chin in length and from ear to ear in width 3 times. It is obligatory to wash all facial hair, inner, outer, as well as the skin beneath the hair, whether the hair is thick or thin, such as the eyebrows, mustache, and so forth, except for a thick beard.
Yeah, y'all hear that, right? Y'all gotta get them beards washed. It's like, go ahead.
Wash both arms completely up to and including the elbows 3 times. It is sooner to pass the fingers through each other. Wipe the head by passing the wet hands from the front of the head, sliding the paired hands to the back up to the nape of the neck, and then return them to a point of commencement 3 times. Wipe the inside of the ears with the fingertips and their outside with the thumbs with fresh water 3 times. Wash the feet up to and including the ankles 3 times. Allow the water to pass between the toes by using the little finger of the left hand, beginning with the little toe of the right foot and ending with the little toe on the left. During wudu, it is sooner to wash the limbs successively, to begin with the right when washing the arms and legs, but both hands, cheeks, or ears are washed simultaneously. To begin with the top of the face and not to splash the water onto it. To avoid splashing water onto oneself. To face the Qibla, not to talk except for necessity, and not to waste water.
Okay, good. One more section.
The cleanliness of the body. It is sunnah to trim the fingernails and toenails, to clip mustache to the extent that the pink of the upper lip is visible. It should not be plucked or shaved. To pluck or to shave the hair of the underarms or and nostrils, and to shave the pubic hair. To apply cool and anatomic compound, to apply henna for women. Circumcision is wajib for both men and women. It is haram for both men and women to dye their hair black except with the intention of jihad.
Mhm. Okay, good. I'll go. I'll read it from here.
Okay.
Well, I'll read some of it. So the
Okay.
section water is either a little or abundant. A little amount of water is that which is less than 2 kulas, and 2 kulas is about 40 gallons, 50 gallons. Abundant water, that which is 2 kulas, approximately 190 liters or more. A little amount of water will become impure when any impurity falls into it, even though the water does not change. Abundant water will not become impure except when its taste, color, or smell changes. Section: the things that make a ritual bath compulsory are 6. 1, insertion of the head of the penis into the vagina. 2, the discharge of semen. 3, menstruation. 4, postnatal bleeding. 5, childbirth. 6, death. Section: the compulsory acts of a ritual bath are 2, intention and to ensure that the water reaches the entire body. The sunnah way to perform a ritual bath or a ghusl: to begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the compassionate, or to recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, to remove any dirt or impurity on the body, to perform wudu as the wudu of salat, to pour water over the head 3 times, intending to remove a major hadath, a ritual impurity, or hayd, menstruation, to pour water over the right side of the body 3 times and then left side 3 times, ensuring that water reaches all joints and folds, and to rub oneself. It is sooner to apply musk or any other fragrance on a piece of cotton and insert it into the vagina if the bath was taken because of hayd. The conditions of wudu are 10. The first one, Islam, the age of understanding, cleanliness from menstruation and postnatal bleeding, being free from that which prevents the water from reaching the skin. Nothing should be upon the limb that will change the qualities of the water. Knowledge of the wudu being obligatory. Not to assume the fard obligatory acts as sunnah, recommended. Pure water. Entering the time of the salat and continuity for a person who constantly remains in a state of impurity. And yeah, that was 10, right? Yeah. Section. The factors that nullify the wudu or make it invalid are 4. Anything that exits from either the front or the rear private parts, whether wind or anything else, except semen. And of course, if it's semen, then you have to make ghusl. Loss of intellect through sleep or other causes, except sleep while firmly seated on the ground. Skin-to-skin contact between an adult, a non-mahram marriageable male and female without any barrier. Number 4, touching the private parts of a human with the palm or inner surface of the fingers. The forbidden acts for a person in the state of minor impurity or in need of wudu are 4. The salat, the tawaf or going around the Kaaba, touching the Quran or carrying the Quran. The forbidden acts for a person in the state of major impurity who requires a ghusl are 6. The salat, tawaf, touching or carrying or reciting the Quran, and to remain in the masjid. And the forbidden actions for a person in the state of menstruation or haid are 10. Salat, tawaf, touching, carrying the Quran, to remain in the masjid, reciting the Quran, fasting, divorce, to pass through the masjid for a woman who thinks her blood might soil the masjid, and to take sexual pleasure from what is between the navel and the knees. Section, the causes of tayammum, dry ablution are 3. 1, the absence of water. 2, illness. 3, need for water exists. The need for water exists by oneself or worthy animals. And the following 6 people or animals are classified as unworthy: a person who forsakes salat, a convicted married adulterer, an apostate, a non-Muslim from a non-Muslim country that has war with the Muslim country, a vicious dog, or a pig. The conditions of tayammum are 10. It must be performed with dust of the earth. The dust must be pure. The dust must not be used, i.e. already used on a limb or has been dusted off of a limb. The dust must not be mixed with flour or anything like flour. A person should intend the earth. He should wipe his face and both hands with 2 strikes of dust. He should first remove any impurity. He should determine the direction of the qibla before commencing the tayammum. He should make the tayammum after the entering of the time of the salat, and he should make tayammum for every fard salat. The integrals of tayammum are 5. 1, the transfer of earth to the body, the intention, and wiping of the face. Wiping of the 2 hands, and including the elbows, and following the sequence between both wipings. The factors that nullify tayammum are 3. The things which nullify the wudu also nullify tayammum: apostasy, presumption that one can now obtain water in the case where tayammum was made due to lack of water. So if you find water and you made tayammum, you will make wudu, it overrides the tayammum. The sunnah way to perform tayammum or dry ablution: begin in the name of Allah, or to recite Bismillah. Wipe the upper face before the lower, the right arm before the left. Wiping the arms, you hold the palms up, placing the left hand crosswise under the right, with the left hand's fingers touching the back of the fingers of the right hand, passing the left hand up to the right wrist, then curling the fingers around the side of the right wrist. One passes the left hand to the right elbow, then turn the left palm so it rests on the top of the right forearm with its thumb pointed away from one before passing it back down to the wrist, where one wipes the back of the right thumb with the inside of the left thumb. One then wipes the left arm in the same manner, followed by interlacing the fingers, rubbing the palms together, and then dusting the hands off lightly. The demonstration we did was way easier than that, what they said, right? That was a lot. Okay.
Imam, excuse
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. So
Like,
that was going to be my question. If you can just, because that's a little wordy right there. If you can just demonstrate.
well, we covered this already. This is just a review of some things that we want on the test. I mean, I won't ask you all this on the test,
Okay. Okay.
but I might
Understood.
ask you like, what are the conditions? But we're gonna go over that in the next section. Let me just read through this. So one separates the fingers when striking the earth each of the 2 times, and one must remove one's ring for the second before wiping the arms. Okay, anybody want to read from here?
I can read from there.
Okay.
Bismillah. 3 types of impurities that can be purified: wine that becomes vinegar on its own, the hide of a dead animal that is tanned, creatures that are born of filth.
Mm-hmm.
Impurities are of 3 types. Okay, those words.
Mughallaza.
Heavy.
Uh-huh. Mukhaffafa.
Light.
Uh-huh. And mutawassita.
Moderate.
Okay.
Heavy impurity is the impurity from a dog, pig, or their offspring. Light impurity is the urine of a baby boy, which only feeds on milk and is not yet 2 years of age. All other remaining impurities are moderate impurities.
Okay, good. I read the next
Heavy,
section.
heavy impurity becomes pure by removing it and then washing it 7 times, one of which should be with earth. Light impurity will be purified by removing the actual impurity and sprinkling adequate water up on it. The amount of water sprinkled should be greater than the amount of urine. Moderate impurity is of 2 kinds: that which has a substance, and 2 that without a substance. That is without a substance. That which has a substance is that which has a color, smell, and taste. It is necessary to remove its color, smell, and taste.
Mm-hmm.
The one which has no substance is the one that does not have a color, smell, and taste. It is sufficient that water flows over it.
Okay.
The minimum menstrual period is a day, a night. It generally lasts 6 or 7 days, and the maximum period is 15 days and nights.
Okay.
The minimum interval of purity between 2 menstruations is 15 days. Generally, it lasts for 23 or 24 days, and there is no maximum limit to the number of days between 2 menstruations. The minimum postnatal bleeding is a single discharge of blood. Generally, it lasts for 40 days, and the maximum period is 60 days.
Okay, tired. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I wanted to just go through that part of the text, and then we're going to start the salaat in 2 weeks. So I think, Sister Adia, are you still on? Assalamu alaikum. There was a sister that signed on. This is her first time here. Sister Adia, assalamu alaikum. You there?
Walaikum salam. I am here. Hello,
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot. Not putting you on the spot, but you're welcome to the class. So we're just reviewing because we're going to have a test next week, and then we're going to review it the week after that. So, I mean, you're welcome to give it a go. So we can really go over the stuff we need to right now. Sister Miriam, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. It's more of a, statement, but I really would encourage everyone to go back and read the footnotes for, each of these sections, because they do provide additional information. I was reading this last night, and for example, on page 29, where it speaks about the light impurities, in the footnotes, it also indicates that if 58, that you can introduce something sweet like a date into the young boy's mouth, and that would not break the rule. So there are certain scenarios that we should be aware of, inshallah.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're going to go through the slides, inshallah. So I'm just going to highlight some of the things that you would need to know. Here, the name of the book, of course, is Safinatun Naja, or the Ship of Salvation. And so I might ask you, what is the book discussing, or something like that. Or maybe I might ask you, no, we didn't really go over that. It was a while ago. Just ask you what the book is about in the name. All right. Then I will ask you the author, of course, and you should know his the date that he passed away, which was 1854 current era, and this the Hijri date that is from the Islamic calendar. All right, so for instance, if I ask you, and his name, it says his name is Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Sa'ad ibn Samir al-Hadrami al-Shafi'i. What does al-Hadrami mean?
That's the country where he was from, right?
Not a country, but
Like a tribe or a group or
a
something?
city.
Okay.
So that means he was from Hadramaut. Hadramaut, which is where's Hadramaut?
In Yemen, right?
Yes, Yemen. I might ask you that. I might not ask you that. It depends. But definitely the date and his name. Okay. You have any questions? Because we're just going to go through these, and I'm highlighting some of the stuff that's going to be on the test. All right. So we did that part. You definitely want to know what fiqh means, the definition of fiqh. All right. Meaning a deep understanding of something. Okay. Yeah, just a definition of fiqh, a general definition. I word it in a way that you'll understand I'm talking about. Okay. And I asked you about fiqh is divided into two parts. And so if I ask you the two parts, ibadat, the fiqh of worship, and mu'alamat. And so fiqh is knowing the understanding of ahkam, the rulings related to worship. So as Muslims, we have to know the ruling whenever we enter to an act of worship. What is permissible, what isn't permissible, how do you do it, all the stuff that we just kind of read through. All right. And so a sentence like this: fiqh of worship is between you and Allah, and fiqh of transactions are between you and another person. And this might show up on there. The virtue of knowledge is knowledge of states. All right, feel free to interrupt me if there's anything.
Can you pronounce that in Arabic, inshallah, please?
Afdalul ilm, ilmul hal. Afdalul ilm al hal. The virtue of knowledge is knowledge of states.
Shukran.
So fiqh, the meaning of fiqh and the two parts of fiqh. Here's just the five pillars. We all should know those. And the book is going to go into details. The first one we just doing the salaat, and before we just covered one part, which is not even one of the pillars. It's the taharah, the section. And so the 6 integrals of faith. So, I might ask you those just for review, but all of us, we do have some new Muslims here. But knowing the names of the 5 pillars and the 6 articles of faith. and we covered some of those things. I might ask you a question. What is the general belief in the angels, the belief in Allah, something general that you will know. Okay, how many books do we believe in? To believe in his messengers, the final
Can you
day.
go back to the other slide, please?
Which one?
That one. You said you're gonna ask us something about the articles of faith.
Not in detail. I might ask you something that you should already know.
Something from Akita class, basically, right? Because
No,
we
just
didn't go in
something.
details in this class about it, even though we did
No,
in the Akita
yeah,
class.
but these 5 pillars, we should already have some working knowledge of them. All right, don't get nervous. Don't doubt yourself. It ain't gonna be,
You know, I'm always nervous before the test. You
yeah,
know how I
don't
get
get
in
nervous.
test
Yeah,
anxiety.
just take it easy. Take it easy. I won't specify too much in this section because this is not really the focus of the book. To believe in the messengers, the final day, to believe in destiny or the qadr, good and evil is from Allah, the exalted. And so I might mention something like, what are some of the events after death? Like, what is Mizan, Su'al al-Qabr, Hisab, Diyab? I'm not going to ask you all of those things. But basically, how many prophets are mentioned in the Quran? How many messengers? Stuff like that. Or I might mention the story of one of the prophets. You have to name that prophet. All right. Okay. And you might want to know this. What is the meaning of the kalima? When you say kalima is la ilaha illallah, what is the actual meaning of it? We translate it as no God but Allah, but in reality, la ma'bud bil haq fil wujud illallah. There none is reality is worthy of worship except Allah.
Will we have to know the Arabic of that?
No, I won't charge you with that.
Okay.
And so this is the meaning of la ilaha illallah. That's pretty. You won't need to know none of that. Okay, here the ahkam ash-shar'iyyah, the 5 rulings of the sacred law. So you have to know the meaning of wajib. What happened there? Oh, there's an example. So the 5 rulings of the sacred law: wajib, mustahab, mandub, mubah, makruh, and haram. Right. And so I might ask you is like, and one of the rulings of the sacred law, if a person is rewarded for performing them and they're liable for punishment, what is that? What ruling is that? And it's like the other ones. I'm just going to the next one.
Wajib.
Yeah, I mean, you know it now because you see it, but on the test, and it's not an open book test. Or something here, you might fard and wajib are interchangeable, right? I might ask you what 2 terms are interchangeable in the rulings. The next one is mandub, a recommended action. One will be rewarded for performing them and will not be liable for punishment if they abandon it. And here's some examples we gave. So I might give you an example, like, using the sawat before salat. What kind of, what is that? What ruling does that follow under? Of course, you have the answer right here. But then, because you think that's the one I want to say on the test, you think you got the answer and it's going to be something else. Yeah, it's diabolical out here. Mubah, something is permissible or neutral, and there's no reward or punishment connected to it directly, right? So it's something that you can do. An example, like we mentioned, reading a book, taking a nap. And this might be important to know for Mubah. And this is something very important when we talk about fiqh. The normative rule for all things is that they are permissible until a sign or proof of impermissibility appears. So in other words, the asl, or the foundation of something, that it is allowed and there is a text that is required to say that it's haram or any of the other rulings. And sometimes we see this the opposite when we engage Muslims and they start with, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Okay, well, what prevents me? And then one of the tricks that people use, this is just a little going on a rant real quick, is that when people say the Prophet ﷺ didn't do something, and so we shouldn't do it either. But that's not what the meaning is. The Prophet ﷺ, he either commanded us to do something, he encouraged us to do something, recommended us to do something, he either remained silent about something, or he forbade us for doing something. And so that's where these rulings come from. So it's not necessarily what he didn't do himself, because the companions did a lot of things that the Prophet ﷺ didn't do, right? And do we accuse them of bid'ah or not following instructions? And so that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get off into that, because in the times we live in the climate, you'll often hear people making it seem like that you're opposing the sunnah, or you're doing something wrong because you're doing something that the Prophet ﷺ didn't do explicitly. That's not what he meant when he says, and I command you to do something, you do it as best as you can. And if I forbade you to do something, you stay away from it. But this is good to know. This might show up as a fill in the blank.
Question.
Yeah,
You said, I remember a lot of time with the macaroon, because it's not necessarily one, two.
that was Mubad we
The
just did.
wagyu, moon bat. When you with the moon bat, excuse me,
Mubad,
I remember moon bat,
not Moonbad, Mubad.
moon bat.
Uh,
With that one, you said that even though the acts are not necessarily rewarded nor punished, right? They're just neutral acts. Remember, you were saying, like, so if we say the Bismillah before, if we intend on seeking the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prior to that act, then it becomes a rewarding act.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So
Okay.
Mubad is like something that is good, but it's not necessarily something connected to it as a specific reward. But for instance, if you take a nap so you can get strength to, lengthen your prayer or get up for tahajjud, then yeah, that's a reward with that, because you're using it as an act of worship. Or if you're eating breakfast so you can have the strength to, go through your day to, whatever you're doing in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or you're reading an Islamic book, there's a reward for every, word that you read. But it's nothing that's by what's the word I'm looking for? Like inference, right? But some of the things that we are recommended to do, the Prophet ﷺ, he connects a reward to it, right? But Mubah is neutral. It's good things, but it's not something specifically connected to as a reward or punishment. But they will be rewarded for doing it. And we discussed some of that, but I'm not going to go too deep over that for the test. Okay, dislike is makruh. Rewarded for abandoning and not liable for punishment if you do it. And so examples we gave, like wasting water while making wudu, delayed prayers for no reason. Then we say eating onions and garlic, we put a question mark, because eating onions and garlic are something that's, is mubah, but it becomes makruh if you in the masjid and someone, like, if your breath becomes offensive in talking to someone. Okay, and the haram, one will be rewarded for abandoning them and will be liable for punishment upon performing them. So on that, so examples here: stealing, gambling, intoxicant, zina. Somebody had a question?
Yeah, with
Go ahead.
the macaroon and the whole onions and garlic thing. I know that it's a Middle Eastern culture. They really like to cook a lot with garlic. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you said it's something that's offensive, and so an offense it's necessarily may be punishable, and Allah knows best. So would they cut? My thing is, are they collecting a bad deed by coming to the masjid? Because I know people all the time, especially, I don't know, for some reason, especially during Ramadan when we all gather. You know what I'm saying? You can smell the stench of the onions or something like that. So if it's like even with perfume, so not just necessarily onions, because women are not supposed to adorn themselves where we are noticeably seen, or like to be flashy. Basically, we're supposed to look beautiful, but not like overly flashy, where we're trying to attract the attentions of someone else. Would that also be considered to be macroob, the perfume? In a sense, if it's if it's so much so that, because I got an allergy, so my allergies and real sensitive. So if your cologne or your perfume is too strong, I get a headache. So would that be something that's offensive to me? Would that be like a macaroon?
Um, yeah, that could be Macru, but you'll be one person. You know what I mean? That's just something that a person will have courtesy for if they know it offends you. You know, they should be mindful of it. But then back to the ruling, they're still not liable for punishment. You know, I mean, but if they didn't do it because they know it, then there's a reward for them.
But with the perfume, as for the women, we know we're told not to. We're not supposed to be all over like that. And as women, I still see a lot of women be overly smelled. Should I? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's.
how does that?
I
I don't
mean,
know.
'cause, there's really no way to gauge it. Like, who? I mean, it would be obvious what if it's too much perfume, but what's the standard for what's too much? You know, like
Yeah.
too much for you might be enough, not enough for somebody. But I mean, you get a response from it, you know. But just try to avoid it in general.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I mean, if you hear somebody saying something, yeah, you know, wow, who got if you come in there and somebody be like, man, who got all that perfume? And you should kind of think like, man, maybe I need to, you know, step on it a little bit, you know, put some cut on it. Um, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I ain't going to trouble you with this correlation between categories. Um, this is something that we talked about. Out of these 10 possibilities or 9 possibilities, only 2 of them will subject you to punishment. So these fiqh rulings are way out for the worshiper, you know. So when we think about these rules and stuff, are they really as stringent as, you know, people accuse Muslims of all these rules, they got to do all these things. But here you see only in 2 categories is the wajib and haram where you subjected to punishment, right? That might show up some type of way on the test. I can't tell you right now.
How many questions you said? 50?
I thought I said 30, but you know, you want 50, you get 50.
No, I
You
want to.
just
How
made a
about we do
suggestion.
like we could do 10?
You just led us
We
to a
could do
good
10 questions. Let's just
no,
do
you
10
just led us to
questions.
a good deed. The Prophet Islam
No.
said the one who leads to the good gets the same reward as the person who does it.
Alhamdulillah. But listen here. Can we do
Yeah.
like 10 questions, dear?
Uh
10 main questions and no
no,
fill
it
in the
won't be
blank.
10 questions. What test you ever take this was 10 questions?
None.
Yeah, exactly. Now you want me to do 10 questions. Now I'll say about 30, maybe 40.
No fill-ins. I remember you just said with that sentence, that phrase is going to be a fill-in. You can't do that to us.
I'm sorry, but I make the test. You know, you can't tell me how to do the test.
Consider the fact that we've been on a roller coaster ride because of some other things. So it'll be a little easier if you put the multiple choice on that for us. You see, I'm the advocate for the
Alhamdulillah.
sisters here.
Yeah. So I guess everybody being quiet, they consent, right?
Yeah.
I'm good with whatever you come up with. And I was gonna say, sis, um, the imam is in charge.
I know. I'm just messing with him.
No,
I
I
know
know.
yeah.
that.
Sister Zakaria is overthinking. She does well on the test. She just don't want to get none wrong. And I find that with most sisters, they don't want to get one thing wrong.
I sure don't. He's so right. I'll be
Yeah.
all nervous.
No, but I won't make it difficult, you know, but it won't be a walk in the park neither. Because that's you think you just go because you know multiple choice. You make a pattern, you'll get at least 60%.
Look, all the back in school they used to tell you when you have multiple choice tests, 9 times out of 10, the C is the correct answer.
You get enough C's, you pass the test. Yeah. All right, and so this you should definitely know. The signs of puberty for male is 15 years, a wet dream or pubic hairs, and the menses for a 9-year-old girl. And they put 9-year-old girl because that's like one of the earliest times that a woman can reach a menses. So these are things. The signs of puberty are 3. You should know them for males and females. This is just something we added about taklif. Is the age. What is considered? You might have to. You would know. You would definitely need to know this. Taklif, or the age of accountability. And there are 4 conditions: Muslimun, Akilun, Salimun, Baligun. So a person, for to be accountable, they have to be Muslim. They have to have the intellect intact. They have to not be. They have to have intellect. They have to be sane. Salim is mean like peaceful, sane, and Baligun, the proper message of Islam reaches them. So if you don't know all of them, I might ask you like, what a multiple choice? There you go. Here's your multiple choice. Which one of these makes person taklif or mukallaf? Taklif and mukallaf is the same thing. All right. And I might ask you the difference between tamyiz and taklif. And you remember what tamyiz is, right?
Isn't that the age of distinction when the child starts to be able to tell right from wrong?
Yeah. So when a
So that
child
starts at
becomes,
like 7, right?
yeah.
Most of
So
us always say.
they're responsible or accountable. They're accountable, like you discipline them at their age, but they're not responsible with respect to their deeds being written down or having an obligation to know this knowledge, because the knowledge we learn here is responsible on the one who reaches puberty, which is as a young age.
I got a question about that.
Go ahead.
So, for example, with the salah and the kids, they say to start them with learning or praying at the age of 7. So that's the age of tamiz.
Tamyiz.
Tamyiz.
Mhm.
Tamyiz. So I don't know, since their deeds are not necessarily being written down per se. What if they were so for example, what if you have a kid that started to pray? You know how kids imitate what they see. So if they're see you praying on a constant basis and they're like 3, 4, 5, you know what I'm saying? They decide they want to pray sometimes, and they're making the salah and they're following you. Are they not being like how we say with us when before we take our shahada, like any good deeds that we in our jahiliyyah days still come with us in our when we take our shahada, so we keep the
It's the
good
same.
deeds and
It's the
Allah
same
subhanahu
for
wa ta'ala.
them. Once they do it,
Okay,
then
the
they
same
also
thing.
get those good deeds. Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was wondering.
It's just that at the time that they're doing them, they're not accountable, like for mostly the wrong.
Okay.
All right, Sister Ma'am, you had a question?
Yes. Excuse me. So is Tamziz and
Tamyiz and mumayyiz, it's the same
yeah,
thing.
shukran. Are they the same thing? Shukran.
Tamyiz is the act of, the form of this word means like the act of that accountability, and mumayyiz is the one who does it. The same thing with taklif is responsibility. The mukallaf is the one who is responsible.
And
All right.
so basically are the rules like they start off at the age of 7 and they're supposed to do it and we encourage them to do it, but they're not punished for it. And at the age of 10, that's when you lightly discipline them.
Yes.
And then, when they become, at the age of puberty, that's when they are responsible. Is that
Yes,
correct?
they're responsible for their own selves, so they're totally responsible. All right.
And
Yeah.
before that, their parents are
Yes.
responsible.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
You had another question, Sister Zachariah?
I put it in the chat. Did I spell that
Mumayyiz.
right?
Yeah, that's
Mumayyiz.
right.
I spelled that right?
Yeah. Okay. Let me try to get through these slides real quick, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. All right. All right. So knowing what taklif and tamyiz is and who is the ages, basically. Okay. The cleaning yourself, the stones, 8 conditions. I might ask you what one of these conditions are. I'm not going to ask you all of them. You should know those. And then maybe the conditions, know the meaning of shart or conditions. If one of the conditions are missing, then the act is not valid, right? We know what istinja is, cleaning oneself after going to the toilet. And so I might ask you here, like if you use stones, the procedure, use stones, then water, then use water, or use only tissue. Okay. Here we put the footnote there, the way to do it. Here, wudu, the obligatory acts of wudu is 6. I might ask you 2 or 3 of them. We know this before. And I might ask you, where's the verse in the Quran that talks about performing wudu? The obligatory acts.
Are you looking for the Surah Ma'idah, ayat 6? Is that the one?
There's only one.
We doing review, so you might as well give us the point of review is to have the answers now, so
No, the
we can
review is for
study for
you to get an
later.
idea of what you need to know. Okay. I done gave you plenty of answers already. All right. So we talked about wudu. We talked about the special name of the people who will be recognized because of wudu. That might show up on the test. Okay. Then we talked about the niyyah, when it should be done, a verbal in the heart. Okay, that's not too much on that. And there was just some virtues of the niyyah. And now the sunnah way to perform the wudu, we went over. I won't really charge you with that. Okay, I won't really charge you with that. Then we had some cleanliness of the body, which is part of the fitrah. I won't really charge you with that. I might ask you the meaning of kula, I might give you the number, and you tell me which one is little or abundant. All right. So a kulatain is 2 kulas, which is about 50 or 60 gallons. And that's considered a little bit of water. And anything over than that is considered a lot. And so it deals with if something that's impure that falls into the little bit of water, it makes the water impure. And if it's a lot, then if something falls into it, the water doesn't become impure except if the taste, color, or smell changes. And so we covered that already. That's in here. All right. So anything.
We have to know the gallon, or is it particularly when you ask us about the little bit of water? Are you
No,
looking for like the number in liters or the number in
no,
gallons?
no. It's here just to know what's considered little and a lot. Just to know the coolers. The coolers is a little, and more than 2 coolers or coolertain is a lot. It's about the water being pure or impure.
Okay.
So this section right here, you might want to know if it's coolertain, anything that falls in the water is coolertain, which is really a lot. That's like 50 gallons of water. If an impurity falls in there, the water it becomes impure. Even the water doesn't change. And if it's more than that amount, then the water does not become impure except if the taste, color, or smell changes. Which means that even you wouldn't be able to use it if it's impurity. So that's all you need to know about. Okay. Sources of water, 2, you probably just need to know the 2 main sources, all right, that you can use for purification. All right. Here you might need to know the meaning of najas. Something that's impure that will prevent you from worshiping. Okay. What makes the ghusl, the things that are the ritual bath, what makes a person making ghusl wajib? It's 6 things, right? Just know 1 or 2 of them. I might ask you. Um, yeah, that's it on that. The height, all of you are probably familiar with that on some level. What is considered the maximum amount and the average amount? I might ask you that. And so, what is the compulsory acts of a ritual bath? Is the intention to ensure the water reaches the body um, as an obligation, and then there's a sooner way to perform it. I might ask you one of these ways. Say if I say, if you perform wudu and we're doing ghusl, what part is that? Is it wajib, sunnah, or something like that? Okay. All right. The conditions of wudu, I might ask you one of those 10. All right. And every act of worship we know requires an intention. All right, we covered some of this. We hear the tamyiz is the meaning here. The state before mukallaf when the child can eat, drink, and go to the bathroom. When the child can receive hasanat. All right. So that answers our question. They do receive hasanat, but the accountability comes when they reach puberty, and so that just added to their scale. All right, so this is just an explanation of the 10 conditions of wudu. Things that break the wudu are 4. I mean, we should all kind of know it, so I might ask you one of the things. Is everybody kind of familiar with this already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Okay. So here's the discussion. I won't ask you the details of the discussion, just so I might ask you if someone such and such, what does this break the wudu or something like that? Okay, here I might ask you the things, what is forbidden, and when you're not in wudu, these salat, tawaf, touching and carrying the Quran. Then the forbidden acts when you're in state of impurity, janaba, major impurity, 6 things, and then the 10 things that are forbidden in the state of menstruation. So I might ask you something like, what are the things that are common between each of those? Like if you're not in wudu, or you need to make ghusl, and it's because you're janaba or you're in a state of menstruation, there are 4 things that are common between all 3 of those states. So you get that?
So, yeah. So, for example, the things that are
Okay, we go to the
common,
next one. We
can't
go to
read
the
the
next one.
Quran.
We go to the next
Is
one.
that right?
We're going to the next one. Okay, that's just a discussion. Tayammum, we just kind of covered. I might ask you one of the conditions where you can make tayammum. So absence of water, illness. All right. I won't ask you about this. Who is unworthy for all that? That's just some extra stuff. Just knowing when to do tayammum, and also basically how to perform tayammum. I might mention one of the conditions, and also I might mention something like tayammum. Can you carry the same tayammum for each salat? So that might
No.
show if it's a true or false question. Okay, we went over that. Dust, earth. Okay, we went over that. The integrals is kind of easy. I won't really cover. Tayammum is not something we deal with often, just to know the rules. Okay. And the things that nullify tayammum, I might ask you this. The same thing that nullifies wudu. And now the wudu, the tayammum, this is important, that tayammum is nullified once water becomes available. So if you made tayammum and you suddenly find water, then the tayammum is nullified. You have to use the water. And we have some footnotes there. The 3 things from impure to the impurity that can be purified. These things are really matter to us these days, but it's just good to know, especially about the wine turning to vinegar. And so these three, heavy, light, and moderate impurities, what you need to do with those. All right. So knowing that for a dog or pig, if they lick a vessel or moisture between you and the animal, whether the animal is wet or there's moisture when you touch them, what do you have to do 7 times? The first one being with pure earth or sand. All right. I might ask you a question, true or false? Dry on dry is not najasa. And you have an answer to one of your questions there. All right. Light. Example is a urine boy who hasn't eaten solid food. All right, that's for it. Then the hide, and that's it. Okay, so what do you think of it?
May Allah reward
Alhamdulillah.
you for the notes and the ability for, you know, technology. I was able to take a lot of screenshots, so I think I have everything. So
Yeah. I mean, most of the stuff we already covered, so Safinatun Naja is like another a secondary book of fiqh after like Risala to Jamia. It's just more details, but the same stuff. And then, as you finish this one, in the Shafi school, you do a book like the Matan Abu Shajat, which goes into more details and stuff like that. So,
Will you
so
be covering that, inshallah?
perhaps.
You're
Yeah.
an excellent teacher. May Allah,
Um, I don't know
Allah
about
reward
all
you.
that, but mashallah, I try my best. May Allah make us all excellent teachers, because this is the goal for all of this stuff, for you all to be teachers as well.
I mean,
Okay, so just study up, review this video, inshallah, review the book, and as Sister Miriam suggested, there's a lot of great footnotes in it. I mean, I didn't pay attention to the footnotes in detail, because then that would just take more time, but the footnotes are for you to review, and get some good things out of it, inshallah.
and if the ones that are in our study group, the notes that we post in there for this class that has the footnotes inside of the notes as
Okay,
well. So
okay,
that's in there
tight.
as well.
Okay, so inshallah we're in there, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us, to forgive us for any shortcomings, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to study and to digest the information and to also pass the test. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamu ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Al-Fatiha. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Wa alaikum
Rahmatullahi
salam
wa
wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh.
barakatuh.